Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm your host, Jason Keeton. I'm here with Brother T. Brother T, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing really well. Glad to be where I'm at and how things are going. I have nothing but gratitude for my life at this moment. I've been in a lot of deep study and meditation and prayer and connection, with my counsel. So I'm in a very interesting place. I'm just immersing myself pretty much continuously in the conversation of enlightenment, and I'm feeling the vibe, my summer vibe, and my
That's right.
spiritual vibe.
I love that. I love that. Well, as we know from last week, I had all my cancer checkups. I've had stage 4 cancer now for 9.5 years, and my numbers were down half of what they were 2 years ago. Just spiritual healthy, body healthy, and I have nothing but gratitude for this life and this experience, and I'm so happy that I'm back here today sharing this time and this moment in space with you, Brother T. This is a blessing.
Awesome. Well, my honor as well, my brother. We are bringing in the vibration of love. That's what it's all about. So do you have a well thought out question for us today?
Well, I had the opportunity to actually share our podcast with some new people when I was connecting with people in Houston, Texas, and I got to really have some nice spiritual conversations. And everybody's on their own spiritual journey, but this question is from our new viewer and subscriber, Richard, and I'll just take his question today. And he asked, I'll just pull up the phone so I get it correct. Is there a higher power guiding me, or am I the creator of my own destiny?
Is there a higher power guiding me, or I am the creator of my own destiny?
That is the question from Richard. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's call in some counsel, and let's take a good deep breath, and if it's comfortable, close your eyes. Immediately, I'm filled with gratitude and love and appreciation for the guidance that not only I am personally enjoying these days, but for the addition of that guidance to our conversation here on The Second Coming, No One Left to Crucify podcast with my brother Jason and our wonderful audience that's interested in learning more about their own personal journey. So we allow only that which expresses Christ consciousness, and only that which is in harmony with the purpose of being, love, and being the neutral observer, and being what we need to be to awaken ourselves to the next level of consciousness, so that our guidance and counsel can then begin not only to be the informer, but to also become the informed with us in this world. So this is a multi-purpose gathering today of enlightenment and connection with our inner guidance as well as with our spiritual community. And for these things, I remain eternally grateful. And I'm going to say this: behold, we make all things new. It will be so. God is, God is, God is. Okay, so as we return to this space, place and time, as we call it, time outside of time, am I being guided by a higher power, or am I being determining my own destiny? Well,
Correct.
Let's talk about the higher power first, since that's the first part of the question. The real question that I have begun to accept as my challenge, my first question I have to ask myself is, which I am I being? Which I am I referring to? Because we have multiple selves. What we typically, especially just beginning on what I'm going to call the Jesus 2.0. This is the teaching Jesus began long before I'm going to say this point, but for me and for much of the world today, this teaching really came out to us. And because we have the internet now, and we have social media now, and we have the ability to communicate with each other almost instantaneously. In 1965, Helen Schachtman began channeling Jesus, and he was dictating, if you will, a script for her to take note of, and it was called A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles didn't come into my life till about 20 years ago now. But it's been revelatory for me personally, and millions of people around the world are getting it and learning it, or at least trying to learn it. And it's not as easy as you might think at first brush, but it's well worth the commitment of time and willingness to begin to understand what Jesus is telling us there, because he brings in a whole different way of us seeing our world. And so I'm going to very quickly say that we have, first and foremost, become unaware of, until you are aware of it, you are unaware of it, and that is that our mind is split. And what I mean by that is, I'll just give you an example. At night you go to sleep and you're sound asleep, at least your body is safe and home in bed, but the mind that you are continuing to live in and live with is, I call it the sleeping cell, is only a fraction of the life you're living today in this awakened consciousness. And that self is completely oblivious to the fact that you're safe at home in bed. It wouldn't believe that you would. It doesn't even make sense to that self, because that self only knows itself as awake when you are asleep. It's very, quite a paradox. But then you wake up, and now you're in another state of consciousness. Yes, a different state of consciousness, a different dimensional construct that we call this living in form. And what Jesus tells us in the Course in Miracles is even that self is still asleep, not quite aware that it is also safe at home, if you will, in the mind of God. A different level of consciousness, even above this one that we're seeing and experiencing right now. But in the Bible it says, in the beginning was the Word, and then the Word became flesh. And Jesus says, now it's time for the Word to be expressed through flesh. And when the Word, or we'll call that you and I, we are the energy of the Creator in action, we are the Word. When we begin to express Christ consciousness in form, then we are Christ expressing Christ consciousness in form. And that's what Jesus did. And then he told us, he said, even the least among you will do more than I, right? Meaning, literally, I am the way, I am the light, I am the truth. And I'm going over here, there's the exit door, and I'm going out here, right? I'm leaving this three-dimensional experience. He didn't say he's coming back to rule us, ever. He said, even the least among you will do more than I. What did he mean by that? He was setting the example life, and the example life is that he woke up to his capital D divinity. He woke up to his capital I identity. He woke up to his Christ consciousness and then became the expression of that consciousness in form. And the name for that, God in form, God expressing in form, is more of God. And that is Christ. That's called Christ. So when we wake up to our own capital D divinity, capital I identity, and are given the gift of getting our thinking mind, which is not truly who we are. We call this a default operating system, the ego operating system. We set that aside. We say, okay, you get thee behind me, and now I'm going to let my Christ consciousness begin to be expressed here in form. So God is only seeing God. God is only expressing love. And that is who we are. Now, ultimately, is that my destiny? Yeah, absolutely, because that's the only destiny I could possibly have. Why? Because God created me. And I can't change what God has created, even if I can dream a crazy dream Jesus calls it the tiny mad idea in A Course in Miracles, that I could make myself different than what God has created me to be. That's impossible. So this default operating system we come into form with is called the ego. We call it the ego here in the Course in Miracles and here at True Thought. And that is the temporary operating system, but its foundation is built on making sure that the body survives. And so its entire foundation is judgment and blame and guilt and giving everything all the meaning that it has. And it predicates all of its decisions based on fear. In other words, protecting itself. And that serves a purpose. But ultimately, as our soul matures, because we are adolescent souls, I like to use that term, that we're adolescent souls and we come into this experience to grow so that we can express more of God, more abundantly, and in form. And so it takes a few lifetimes, if you'll allow me to consider that, for my soul to mature enough so that my soul can then move to the front seat, so to speak, and be in the driver's seat. And that is the expression of Christ consciousness. Now, up until the point that you're willing to accept that maybe there's more of you than you've ever realized because nobody told you that was possible, and somebody might have told you that you're a sinner. Jesus never told his disciples that they were sinners, except to the extent that he said, what I was telling my disciples that sin is judgment. And I was telling them not to sin, that not to judge other people for anything. To be the neutral observer, because you're the observed and the observer. Spirit is observing you. Your soul is observing you, right? But as we graduate and we begin to raise our consciousness level, then we become in union, in a unified mind, with all aspects of ourself. Not just our sleeping self and this self, this egoic self, let's say, of my daytime lifetime, but I can also now become reintegrating those selves in with my soul and in with the Holy Spirit, which is, Jesus tells us, is nothing more than your right mind, and of course in miracles. So all of these selves ultimately are one with God. There's really only oneness, but we can't see that when we see things through the world, through the vision of duality, and that's pretty much what we're experiencing here. So the answer to the question is yes and, right? Yes, you are in control of your destiny. In other words, you can delay how long it takes for you to make a commitment and to be willing to learn the truth about yourself. There is no option on the curriculum. In other words, it's mandatory. This is in the introduction to A Course in Miracles. The curriculum is mandatory. Only the time in which you take it is up to you. So you're in control of your destiny to the extent that you can delay awakening to your capital D divinity and your capital I identity as long as you want and as many lifetimes as you want. But if you really want to begin to understand how powerful you are, that as even a micro droplet of the energy of God, you have the power of creation available to you, but not while you're operating as the egoic mind, right? So once you begin to realize that there's another way of seeing the world through the vision of Christ's vision, you start making space in your mind, literally in your day, for that time in your mind to make space to allow yourself to be joined in union with your true self. Now that's a process, and for me it's taken decades, right? But it's worth the effort. It's worth the effort because today I'm pretty much blissed out. I'm in joy. I have amazing life these days. It's minimalistic. I would think from most people's expectations of what they can build for themselves and the legacy they can leave and all the things that the ego says that we have to do. But the ego is a liar. The ego is not who you are, and it really doesn't understand how powerful you are. But if we give our awareness, if our soul is giving our awareness to the ego, then that's who we think we are. But once we let go and we start to see the ego for what it is and we say, get thee behind me, then the soul begins to be informed by the Holy Spirit, which is your true self. And then the soul and the true self emerge, eventually becoming Christ consciousness in form. More of God on this beautiful planet. That is the second coming. That is the beginning of heaven on earth. And that's where we are today. Great question, Richard. Thanks for asking the question.
Yes. Thank you, Brother T. Thank you. And for everyone, That makes my job so much easier. I just have to sit here and smile. I love it when our community becomes involved and starts making this our community, starts really embracing the aspect and using our beautiful resource of Brother T here, just bringing the light to all of us. So thank you, Brother T. How can people support us? How can people support the vision of True Thought?
Oh, well, thanks for asking the question, but it's pretty simple. Just support.truethought.org, right? So support.truethought.org. I'll put it on the screen here for you. But yeah, that's one way. You can also, if you want to support we have a pretty good database now, archive of daily writings and podcasts and video recordings or audio recordings and things that we're publishing now are pretty much on Substack. So if you want to go to our Substack page, you can go to True Thought, True, thought.org, or truemind.space. And either one of those domains will take you to our Substack page. You can join there and become a subscriber, which is like $7 a month, or they give you a discount if you pay for it annually. And more people are doing that, and thank goodness, right? I mean, every little bit helps. We're paying for software, paying for electricity, paying for our cameras and our technology. Trying to stay abreast of the changes in technology is sometimes complicated, but we're doing the best we can with all that. But we really appreciate the support. And this is my full-time gig. I really have nothing else that I'm dedicating my life or time to, except to just doing the podcast and writing on a daily basis. And I'm in the beginnings of working on a book right now that I've got a couple of people twisting my arm saying, let's get it done, and supporting us and supporting my work. And I'm going to try to get it done this year. So I've got some work doing, but I'm making some steps towards that as well. So to answer your question, Jason, support.truethought.org. And you can make a contribution, whatever you'd like to. And you can set it up there as recurring or one time or whatever you want to do.
Sounds great. And your beautiful daily message, your email message, they can find that through our Substack page or through the links here on our YouTube channel also, correct?
Yes. Yeah, truethought.org. That'll take you there. And you can add your email, and then you'll get those emails. If you don't add your email, you can still read the archives. You can, all of our content, I'm not really charging for any of the content. If I start publishing the beginning articles or the books or something that I'm doing there, I might make that a paywall to get to that. But right now, everything there is free.
Yeah, it's so nice. We just want to share the loving spirit. This is not for gain. It's for love, and it's for our community. It's for our spiritual community that we can share with everyone. And I'd like to ask you to share with one person today, just one. Like, share, subscribe, and share it. Share it with one person, and let's invite them into our community. And send me a message. Send me a question that we can ask and that we can be a part of. And thank you again, Richard, for your question today. Thank you, Brother T, for your light.
Yeah,
and your love.
I just want to mention that again. I would say thank you, Richard, as well. But put some comments. I didn't mention our YouTube page. Jason is True Thought Spiritual Community is TTSC, True Thought Spiritual Community. TTSC.tv will take you directly to our YouTube channel. So if you're watching our videos on YouTube, our podcast there, and some videos and the content we have there, put comments in the sections and put questions down there, and Jason and I can pull from that for the purposes of our podcast, and also for other episodes where I may just start answering those questions, ad hoc and just turn on the microphone, and it probably won't be a camera, but it'll be audio. And we just want to start adding more content to our YouTube channel as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Brother T, thank you. Thank you again for an amazing week. Thank God for my presence, my health, and my great test results. I am excited about that. And thank you for being part of this community. So at that, I will leave you with a beautiful namaste, and I will see you on another episode of The Second Coming.
It will be so. Thank you for showing up and being with us today. You are dearly loved. God bless you. Amen.